Money is one of those things that they just don't teach you in school, right? You can spend 15, 20 years in school, sometimes more, and they don't teach you about money. They don't teach you about the banking system. They don't teach you about interest rates. They don't teach you about loans, right? Why don't they teach this in school? Is it not important? Is money not important? Right? Oh, money's not important, right? We don't have to teach it, right? Of course money's important. Of course it's important. Money's like oxygen, right? You need it to live, right? You don't need all the oxygen, but you need some oxygen to live. You need some money, right? So think about this. Most people, they go to work not necessarily because they love their job, unfortunately. They go to make money. They need it for the money's linked to their survival. They need it to live, right? And they spend their entire adulthood working for money, right? And they never bother to learn about money or understand money. So think about that. People people dedicate their whole life to earning money and never bother to learn about money or how it works. So imagine that, dedicating your life to something that you don't understand. Dedicating your life to something that you don't understand, right? And it's a trap that a lot of people fall into, right? You have hardworking the hardworking middle class, right? That can't even retire with financial dignity, right? They can't do that, unfortunately, because money's not taught in schools. Why isn't it taught in schools? Like, there's a lot of money trauma that people have in assumptions, right? People think that if you're broke, you're like a saint, or if you have money, if you're rich, that you must be the devil, right? These are the kind of this is the mindset that people get baptized with, right? Like money is the root of all evil, all that jazz, all those things that people just inherently accept as it being true, and it becomes a part of their identity. It becomes a part of their identity without actually questioning it, right? They don't teach money in schools, and this is not by coincidence, okay? This is by design. It's not a coincidence that they don't teach this, right? Think about this. You're going to spend 40, maybe 50 years of your life working, right? And if you are working throughout those 40, 50 years, every single year, you're expected to pay taxes, right? Every year you pay taxes. Taxes, 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 right? Why don't they teach you the tax code in school? If you're going to spend decades paying taxes, why isn't this being taught in school? There's no tax code course, right? They don't teach you this, right? It's by design. When was the last time you heard a politician promote financial education or tell you how to get out of debt, right? You don't hear that. You don't hear politicians advocating or promoting financial education. In fact, they take it away from education. You have to go out and find it yourself. You have to make an effort to financially educate yourself outside of the school system, right? Because it's not going to be given to you. It's just not, right? They're not going to teach you about real estate. They're not going to teach you about the stock market, right? These are things that everybody should know about. They're not going to teach you about interest rates, loans, none of that. They just don't teach you this. You have to go out and find it for yourself, right? Nobody taught me about finances either, right? My father, both my parents, they have very humble roots. It's humility. My parents grew up in survival mode, just trying to get by, right? Minimum wage. They were never given that opportunity to learn about education. They're immigrants, right? They had to get by in a different world, in a different era. So I never saw my dad invest in the market. I never saw my dad, talking about interest rates or none of that. If your parents didn't teach you this, you're starting from a deficit, right? Other more privileged people, they do get financial education. It gets passed on from their parents, their great grandparents, whatever the case may be. But most people don't get this financial education that's necessary to navigate your way through life, right? It's not taught in schools. What they teach you is they teach you about history, they teach you about English, right? They teach you the English language, but not money, right? They teach you about, French language, Spanish, whatever, all these languages, but not money. And the reality is, money is also a language. Did you know that? Did you know that money is also language? Right? They'll teach you French, Spanish, English in school as a language, but they don't teach you about money. Money is a language. Okay? Money is one of the main ways people communicate with each other, right? People don't just communicate with each other based on words. What they do is they communicate with each other based on what they buy, right? What you buy with your money is one of the most predominant ways people communicate with each other. What you buy with your money tells the rest of the world what you want to do and who you want to be, right? Based on what you're purchasing. It's a whole different language, right? Every time you buy something, you're voting. Okay, they say the money makes the world go round, right? Every time you buy something, you're voting. Every dollar is a ballot, right? When you go out and you buy something, you're voting. You're voting for this and not that in the free market, right? Every dollar is a ballot. Okay, money is a language, and what you do with it is how you communicate with other people. You're voting every time you buy something. Okay? Every dollar is a ballot. And the more money you have, it's like the more votes you have. This is why some of the most powerful people, the richest people, have the loudest voices. Because they have more ballots. They have a larger say in the matter. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It just means they have more ballots. So they can sway the paradigm to their favor. Right? This is why some of the most successful political campaigns aren't necessarily the ones with the best ideas. It's sometimes with the best political campaigns are the ones with the most money. They have a larger reach, so they're able to reach out to people that you wouldn't otherwise be able to if you have a smaller campaign has small funds, right? Money is power. No matter how you cut it, dice it, and slice it, money is power. Money, what's so interesting about money? Money is one, if not the only field where you can have an uneducated person outperform an educated person in that field. Let me say that again. Money is one, if not the only field that I can think of where an uneducated person can outperform an educated person in that field. So what do I mean by that? You're allowed to make mistakes in finance. You're allowed to fail in finance. And that doesn't mean that the game's over. You can still keep going, right? You're allowed some leeway. You're allowed to fall down and get back up in the world of finance, right? You can keep going. So making a wrong investment isn't the end of the world, okay? You can make a wrong investment and you can still make a fortune, right? You can be wrong 50% of the time in finance and you can still outperform somebody who was educated in finance even though you weren't, right? You can be 50% wrong and still outperform everybody. It's a numbers game, right? You can't really say that about other fields, right? Like say you're a surgeon, for example, right? Your job is to, do surgeries. You cannot mess up half of your surgeries and still be considered a successful doctor. You can't do it. You can't be a surgeon and have half your surgeries go catastrophically wrong. You have to elevate, right? If you're a surgeon or an architect, right? You can't build these skyscrapers and buildings, and then half of them collapse right after they're done because you did them wrong. It doesn't work that way. The margin of error is not granted in every field. In money, it is. In money, in finance, you could be wrong 50% of the time. You could invest, you could do 100 investments, 50 of them fail, and you could still outperform all other investors and make a fortune. All it takes is one good investment, right? One good investment can outweigh all the bad ones, right? So you, like I said, you can fall. It's okay to fall. But the school system will tell you otherwise. The school system will tell you you can't fail, right? You're not supposed to fail. You're not supposed to make mistakes, right? They put a little F on your report card, right? Don't fail, right? You're going to fail the class. You're going to fail the year, right? Failing is the boogeyman, right? You don't want to fail. If you don't listen, you're going to fail, right? If you don't pay attention, you're going to fail. If you don't do your homework, you're going to fail, right? You're not supposed to fail. So you're programmed, you're baptized in this mindset in school that you're not supposed to fail. When in reality, it's part of life, especially in finance. You're supposed to fail. That's how it works. And it's okay, right? It's not the end of the world. The sky's not going to fall. It's okay, right? But they're not going to tell you this culture in school where they don't teach you about money and they tell you don't make mistakes, right? It's not going to end well, right? What they're going to teach you in school is they're going to teach you how to be an employee. They're going to teach you how to be an employee. They're going to tell you to trade your time for money. They're going to tell you that the more school you have, the better. And that's not necessarily true, right? Some of the people that have the worst spending habits or the largest amount of debt are like doctors and lawyers. And they go to school forever to get those degrees. And I'm not knocking lawyers and doctors, believe me. If I'm in an accident, the first person I want to be taken to is a doctor, right? Right? Of course, I'm not knocking them. What I'm saying is simply this. You go to school, you get student debt, right? Then you buy the fancy car, you get into car debt, you get mortgage, right? You get the house debt. And you're slaving away, chipping away, trying to break even when all you've done is accumulate debt. And you're relying on your degree or your education to pay off the debt. But that degree, when you're trading time for money, if you stop trading time, you stop getting money. Doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a doctor or whatever the case may be. If you're trading time for money, you're still caged. You might be making a lot of money, but you're still in a cage. You're just in a fancier, more expensive cage, but you're still in a cage, right? You're tied to the grind. Where if you stop working, you have financial collapse, right? You can't pay off your debt, right? Your quality of life diminishes because you're trading your time for debt. You're trading your time for money. I'm sorry. Now, if you're programmed this way, you'll never see the obvious that as long as say you have a salary, every time you go to work, you get paid. But if you don't go to work, you're not going to get paid. So how much money you make is determined by how much time your employer is willing to give you in the form of employment. If they tell you work 40 hours a week, then that's where you cap off. If they tell you you're going to work overtime and you make more money, you'll cap off then, whatever they tell you that overtime is. You're at the mercy of whatever they tell you. So your employer puts a ceiling in your salary, in your money. If they want you to go and work, then you do. If you don't, then you don't. Okay? At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And that's life.